Hey guys, it's Jamie with the Summer Rain channel. Welcome back. So today we are going to be making Christmas bubble bars. I did go ahead and pop the full recipe down in the description box below, so go ahead and check that out. So I went ahead and I made candy canes and Christmas trees, but you can literally make them in any shape that you have a cookie cutter for. So if you have a cookie cutter, you can make these bubble bars in that shape. Two things about them. So the first is they do take about 1 to 2 days to dry completely. So if you're making them for a gift, go ahead and keep that in mind. And the second is I colored mine with mica powder, but if you want the bath water to be colored, you're going to want to use like a lake dye. So just swap that out for the mica powder. I'm going to go ahead and show you how they work in my sink before we make them. So let's pop over to the sink and see how these bubble bars work. Okay, so I have you in my sink. I just wanted to show you how the wonky colored bubble bar that we made, how it actually works. So what you would do in the bath is you're just going to turn the bath water on and then crumble it a little bit under the water. And you can already see just how many bubbles you're going to get, and you can see with the red, it's not really going to color your water. You might get a little bit of a tint, like a pinkish color almost, but you are going to get a stupid amount of bubbles with this bubble bar. That was just a wee little section. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and make our bubble bar. Okay, so here are the ingredients that you're going to need for your Christmas bubble bar. And I know it feels like a lot, but I'm certain that you're familiar with probably most of these ingredients. So don't feel intimidated when you see these. Let's just go over them one at a time and kind of explain what they do. So the first one that we have is baking soda. Now baking soda makes your bath water more alkaline, which makes it feel softer. So we use the baking soda to help make the water feel soft. Then we have cream of tartar. Now this helps to hold the bar together, right? Because we want a really nice solid bar that's not crumbling apart. So that's what we're going to use that for. Then we have cornstarch. This also helps harden the bar and it makes your bath water feel soft. And then we have our first surfactant, which is SLSA. And surfactants are what create the bubbles in the bubble bar. So this is going to create all kinds of bubbles. And our second surfactant is a liquid surfactant, and it's cocamidol propyl butane. And I know that I mispronounced that just a little bit, so I'll tell you what. In the description box down below, I'll put the spelling of this, and I'll put a link to where you get it. The reason why we use two surfactants is the SLSA is going to create a whole bunch of bubbles. This surfactant is going to make the bubbles more stable and help them last longer. Our next ingredient is vegetable glycerin. Now we use this for two reasons. One, it helps draw moisture to your skin, but it's also going to help draw moisture to the bubbles, making them last even longer. So we're really maximizing how long these bubbles are going to last in the tub. And then we have our fragrance oil. Now I'm using Mad About Mint, and I'm going to warn you, this smells like a minty cookie when it's done. So be sure that if you use this fragrance oil, you don't leave your bubble bar sitting out on the counter. Let's go ahead and see how we actually make the bubble bar. So I'm going to start by putting our SLSA into a mixing bowl. This kind of has a fine powder, so you don't want to like dump it from way up high. You really want to get into the bowl and try to prevent as much of the poof as you can, because it is an irritant. If you want, you can also put on a mask just to kind of protect yourself a little bit from the surfactant. It can be a bit much in powder form. And then we'll add our baking soda, cream of tartar, cornstarch, our liquid surfactant, vegetable glycerin, and our fragrance oil. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and mix this all up again until that SLSA is really mixed in there. Mix kind of slow because you don't want it poofing all up in the air at you. Now I find that you can only mix with the spatula to a certain point, and then you're going to have to get in there with your hands and mix it up. So if you have some gloves, you can pop those on. And the more you mix, you're going to notice that it's going to start feeling kind of doughy. And here's our dough. I'm going to go ahead and wash my hands, and then I'll be back and we can start actually making the bubble bars. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and break this up into 3 different sections, because I'm going to make a red and white candy cane, and then I'm going to make a green Christmas tree. So we'll color this one green, leave this one white, and then color this one red. At the same time, you're going to want to go ahead and grab your mica powder and a bit more baking soda. So this is not quite the right texture that I want it to be. And I could add more baking soda to the base recipe, but I prefer it just to add it until it's exactly the texture that I need it to be. I also find it's easier to color when it's more, I don't know, like a softer dough than it is when it's all the way hard. So I just add a little bit at a time, and I'll just show you right now. So let's just add some green mica powder. If you don't want shiny green hands, go ahead and put some gloves on. It's not like it won't wash off, but you do wind up with a little bit of a mess. Now the mica powder won't really color the bath water. So if you want your bath water to be the same color as your bubble bar, you're going to want to use like a lake dye. I'm okay with it not coloring the bath water, but if I were to use a lake dye, I'd 100% be wearing gloves though, because that will stain your hands. See how like sticky this still is? I feel like it just mixes better before you get it to a thicker consistency. And you just keep adding the mica powder until you get to the color you're looking for. And I don't know, I'm kind of okay with that shade for a tree. Now I'm going to come in with a bit of baking soda. And like I said, you're just going to use this to thicken it up a bit, right? We don't want it sticky like that. And you want to be careful not to go too thick, right? Because if you're too thick, it's going to crumble apart. So it's a bit of a balancing act between being thick enough to where it's not super sticky and being too thick where it's crumbly. So if you're not thick enough in your dough, you add baking soda. If you get too thick, you go ahead and add just a bit of vegetable glycerin to soften it up. Now I'm pretty happy with the consistency and the color of the green. So I'm going to go ahead and color the red at the same time. So I'm just going to go ahead and set the green off to the side. Okay, and I feel pretty good about the red color that I have here, so we'll set this one off to the side. So we have our green and our red, and now we'll just make the white. And the white's pretty easy to make because all we're doing is thicken it up just a bit. So I went ahead and laid down just a bit of parchment paper. These bubble bars are going to need to dry for a day or two, so I like to put them on a piece of parchment paper. That way I can actually move them off my counter. And we'll start out with the green. Now you want to keep your bubble bars pretty thick, so you're just rolling it out just the wee little bit. And then we just grab our cookie cutter. And there is your first bubble bar. Tell me that doesn't look like a sugar cookie. And I think I can get one more tree out of this one. And there's our second tree. So now we'll grab our red and our white. Now I like to roll them out just a bit. Oh, hold on. Okay. And then you're going to roll your white out. And then I just wrap them together and then kind of smush them. So I only do that because I kind of want a marbled effect. So we get a little bit of red and a little bit of white in each bubble bar. Now this is going to have a little bit of a tendency to stick to the counter. See that? So you can put a bit of baking soda down, or I just kind of flip it because I don't want them getting too hard on me. And then grab your candy cane. And I try to place it so we get the cutest bubble bar that we can. Oh my goodness, I like that one. Okay, that one might be the perfect candy cane. And then I'll just roll this out again. Okay, so we're left with just a bit, maybe not enough to do one more candy cane or Christmas tree. So what I like to do is I like to just make a Mod Podge one, and this is the one that I'll use for my testing. Just to show you how the bubble bar works. And that will be our testing bar. So what we're going to do is we're going to allow these to cool completely. Normally it's going to take you about a day or so before this is all the way cooled, and then I'll show you how it works.